Hey guys, Diana here from Garden Love. Today I came here to help my brother-in-law, sister-in-law remove some fruit trees from the ground. We're going to put them in containers to help them basically because they're going to be removing that hillside that they're in. Unfortunately, last year or a year and a half, their house unfortunately got caught on fire in one of the fires, so they are completely redoing their home. And part of it, they're going to pave it out the side of their house so they can put their RV there, and we're going to put fruit trees in the ground temporarily until we figure out what to do, and I'm here to help them. Obviously I recommended EB Stone potting soil because it's one of the best, so we're going to be using that along with Shirt Star from EB Stone that I brought to share with them, so it can help the trees get established and continue to grow in the container. So we're going to do that. Let me go ahead and show you guys what it looks like, and then we're going to get started. Let's go. Hey friends, I'm so excited to bring you guys along this project. It was totally last minute. They called me to see if I can come over and help them repot all of these fruit trees in this large side planter that they have going. I wasn't busy, so I said of course I can come over and help. So I'm very excited to bring you guys along. As you guys can see, there's several citrus and this amazing guava that seems to be loving it in the soil, which is really rare because our soil here where we live is nothing but clay, and almost about anything doesn't do well, including their citrus weren't doing that well. So I think once we put them in containers, they are going to completely thrive and love it, especially because we chose EB Stone soil. As you can see here, we have some wine barrels that we're going to make sure that we have holes and very well drained holes, so that way your fruit tree is not drowning in water and get root rot. That's very, very important. Make sure you have holes for all of them. We also selected some plastic containers. These are the ones I usually get from either Walmart or Costco, and they are super good for your fruit trees. I'm going to line them up on this side of the house because there's nothing going on here. Alright guys, since they're going to be working on the other side of the house, we came to this side of the house, and we're going to put all of these containers all along this fence because there will be no construction going on around this side. So for now we are going to save the trees and put them here. I was trying to see where their water spigot was at, that way they have access to water. They can put like maybe a drip irrigation, or maybe they can you know, just have the hose readily available for them to water these trees, because as you guys know, watering trees when they're in containers is very crucial. So I'm going to try to find their hose nearby so we can make sure that they have access to water. Let's continue. Here's one more. Okay guys, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to prepare all of these containers with the soil. That way when it's time to get the tree out of the ground, which my brother-in-law is doing, we are ready to go. So we got the most amazing citrus and palm soil that I recommend for just about any fruit tree because it holds such good moisture and it drains so well. So as you can see, it's going to need about 2 bags per container. Let me see if I can show you how big these containers. They're 22 inches and a half. This is something you guys ask me all the time, how big the containers are. 22 inches and a half wide. It doesn't give me any more dimensions other than it's 22 inches. So that's pretty much what you're going to need to have a fruit tree growing. This is the perfect size to start a fruit tree. And to let it grow, you can actually keep it in here for a while and pull it out and refresh the soil if you want to maintain it in these containers. But eventually I would recommend to go to a bigger size, like a wine barrel, as you can see over there. So we're going to put the bigger trees in those wine barrels and the smaller trees in this. So I'm just going to pour one bag of soil in each container. When the tree gets here, then we're going to backfill the rest. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now.
Alright guys, you guys know I love EB Stone's products. I love their soil. The second thing I would recommend for you guys to get is EB Stone Sure Start. Those two things will make your trees thrive and grow. So that's what I told my brother and sister-in-law to get for now. So I'm going to share my Sure Start. See? My Sure Start that I put in here, and just sprinkle some in the soil so that way the roots can get well established and it will help them prevent shock. Perfect. If you guys are feeling like going a little extra, I would recommend getting some compost and also some worm castings. Those are perfect for fruit trees. You can always add those later, but if you want to go a little extra, you can add them now while you're planting it, mixing it in the soil so it's all spread out everywhere. When the roots get to it, they're going to be fed and super happy. But you don't have to do that. You can just do good soil, because I'm pretty sure citrus and palm already has some worm castings in there and some compost, some very good stuff in there. So to start, if you do citrus and palm, you're going to be okay. Sure Start is the next thing I would recommend. I highly recommend Sure Start for any transplant, because it will help your trees from the shock of transplant. So those are ready to go. We're going to start digging up the trees and bringing them over here.
Alright guys, I'm so excited. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to dig up these trees. The most important thing is go as wide as you can and get a feel of where the roots are, and then start shaking it up. To my surprise, some of these trees, the roots weren't that big, and I have a belief that it's because of the soil that it was in.
What we're going to do is, as you can see all of these short stars on here, I'm going to set it where I want it to be. This is sitting very low. It didn't have as many roots as I thought it would, and it didn't have as much soil from the native soil where it was growing. So I'm going to fill it up a little more. So it could be higher. Remember, eventually the soil gets compressed and the soil line is going to be a lot lower. So the higher you can get it, the better. You always want to have a gap in between the soil and the top of the container, because you want to use that as space to, when you water it, you leave it there and the soil will eventually get really soaked up. So I'm just going to center it, cover it, use the rest of the EV.
This is actually the hardest part, because you have to be very gentle, and at the same time you have to be aggressive because you're trying to get the tree out. So just be patient with yourself and try your best.
Alright guys, let's see. The root level is pretty good where I want it to be, so this is actually perfect. I'm going to loosen up some of these roots. I thought the roots would be bigger than this. They're not, but I think this will still do the job. As you can see, we already have some Sure Start attaching to the roots, so that's perfect. It looks like we got some sunburn right here. However, the tree is still growing. What I'm going to recommend is to do some Ivy Organic wash paint for this. I might have some and bring it over here, but we're going to try to save this tree and see what we can do to save it. So like always, you want to angle the tree upright, and that's how the root ball is going to go in, so it can be completely upright, and then we're going to backfill it. Very important when you guys are doing this, the roots are going to be dehydrated. The roots cannot sustain most of the tree. If this tree was bigger, I would advise to trim it down. However, it doesn't have that much green to support, so it's going to do fine. The only thing I'm going to say is to water very often, like every day for the next few days. Remember that the soil level is going to go down. You don't want to bury your roots way too deep. You want to keep them just right below the soil level. So This is perfect. Look at this. Right here. Perfect. See, this one was too deep where it was growing because there's no roots here. You don't want to dig it too deep. You want it right where the roots start. The roots right there, that's where the soil is going to go, like that. This is a guava tree. We believe this is a guava tree. My sister-in-law's mother grows a lot of things from seeds, and she is going to she's been growing a lot of her fruit trees from seeds, which is very impressive because a lot of them are very good. She even has a loquat from seed, and it is doing great. The root balls are not very large in these trees, and the reason why I think they're not very large is because the soil here is so bad that it doesn't allow the roots to actually grow and move along. So I think they are going to completely take off once we plant them in these containers with this amazing soil.
Here we go. Here's another one. As you can see, this one as well does not have a big root system, and that is because it's my opinion that it's because of the soil. So I am going to be so excited when these trees take off in the citrus and palm soil, and one day when we transplant them, they're going to be completely full of roots, which are going to be even better for us to transplant them into the ground.
Alright guys, we're going to be transplanting this amazing guava tree that I showed you guys earlier that already has guavas, but in order to transplant it to prevent shock and for it to continue to thrive, since we are going to be cutting some roots like I mentioned earlier, we're going to trim it down, and I'm going to trim the corners, that way they'll start producing new branches from it. So it's actually a good thing because it's going to encourage new growth. And it's going to allow the current root system that we're going to dig out to continue to feed and water this tree. When you're transplanting trees, if it has this much foliage on your tree, you don't want to leave that much foliage because eventually it will die out, and you're better off controlling what you want off the tree instead of the tree doing it itself, because it might just die out a certain half of the tree. You want it to stay completely full, so trimming it is a very, very good thing for transplanting. I know it sucks because it took a while to get to the size, but since we're not leaving it in the ground, you're gonna want to trim it down. It's gonna make it easier to dig it off out of the ground, and you're gonna relieve the tree from going into further shock from it being transplanted. I don't know if you guys heard, you guys can actually make tea out of guava tree. My mom makes it for my stepdad all the time, and he drinks tea. It's very healthy for you. If you guys are interested, I suggest you guys do some research. That's just what I know my mother does, and guava leaves are very, very healthy. So this might not go to waste. You can save and harvest them for your teas.
Alright friends, as you guys can see, the sunlight is not out, not to mention that with all the smoke and the air, it has been kind of dark and shady to begin with. It's getting late. We're going to try our best to complete this project before the end of the night. As you can see, we're rushing, and I'm trying to prepare these last containers while my brother-in-law gets this guava loose, because it was completely in there. Like I mentioned, this guava tree definitely loved the soil, which is ironic because the soil is not that great. So I'm preparing these containers while he gets the guava ready. My sister-in-law also purchased this pomegranate, amazing. As you guys can see, it has a pomegranate on there, so that's very exciting. I went ahead and potted for her so that way it's ready to go and it can grow and thrive over the next few weeks. So now that we're done with this, let's go ahead and move on and continue to help my brother-in-law remove this. Apparently it was really in there. It was really hard, so it was a two-person job. I went ahead and cut some of the roots around while he pulled, and this tree is really gonna thrive in the container because it was already thriving here in this very poor soil. So I'm excited for that. It was quite a job here. I'm glad that we were helping each other. But now we're going to move it into the container, and as you can see, look at how big and amazing it is. So I'm super thrilled. The crazy part about this, like I mentioned earlier in the video, my sister-in-law's mother grew this from seed, and here we are a few years later, they are growing fruit. So that's very exciting. As you know, my jobs or my projects always end with watering my fruit trees, and here we are doing a very deep watering. I told my sister-in-law to water every single day, at least for the next week or two, and then after that you can cut down, because by then the roots will be very well established and have fully contact with the soil, and they will be growing. So definitely water a lot, especially when it's hot. If you can provide some sort of shade for these trees, afternoon shade, that would be amazing. I think the trees would truly appreciate it, especially in the first few weeks that it got transplanted. And I think that's all the tips that I have for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this process. Give me some thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I love to hear all the comments down below. I'll see you guys in the next one. I hope you guys have a blessed day. Bye-bye.